Hello, hello. I don't know if there's anyone on watching right at this second, so let's give them a bit of time. But I've got
Sure.
my Ormonde woman here.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I've gone through nearly half of this traveller.
Wow, you have. You have.
Yeah.
You've been really giving it a good go.
Yep. When did you buy your bottle?
Earlier this year, I sort of got to, I think, the final third of that travel, and I decided to just buy the bottle. And I ended up buying a 50 ml. I was going to buy the bigger bottle, but I think I ended up getting the smaller one because I figured I probably don't really need the big bottle. But yeah, I think it was definitely over winter. I think maybe April or June or something. So,
It's only been in the last year you got it, yeah?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, in 2020, I bought it cool. during the whole lockdown scenario.
Looks like Rich is on the line. Looks like we've got about 6 people watching at the moment, so I think we might as well start. Like we have. Thanks everyone for joining us. I've got Cherie with me, and we're going to be talking about Ormonde Woman from Ormonde Jayne, and I'm going to say it straight away. There is. Just so there's no ambiguity, this is going to be a positive review, I'm pretty sure.
Definitely. Well, definitely from my part anyway. I think everyone would know that already.
Well, if anyone's been watching my channel, I've mentioned this numerous times already and how it was a surprise for me. Last year I bought Tolu and they sent this to me as part of, just as an extra, a travel spray of Ormonde Woman, and it's been a complete surprise for me. And I've brought this up before. It's just a shame that they've decided to call it Ormonde Woman, because I reckon a lot of guys would not try this just based on the name. And I think it smells amazing. And like I don't know if there's really anything that I would describe as overly feminine about it, but I thought what we'd do, Cherie, is I'm going to spray some on and we'll describe, like opening, mids, and then the dry down. We'll alternate because obviously we might get different things from it. So this has been around since 2002, and the perfumer, like quite a few of the Ormonde Jayne's Geza shown. So I'll just describe what I get, and then you can jump in as well. The main thing I get in the opening is this kind of almost spicy, peppery, lemony grass. Basically, it's like very fresh grass, but there's almost it's like it's been seasoned, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
and it's just like
absolutely.
It's really bright. This really bright, happy, effervescent opening to me. And I'm careful to use the word effervescent. Actually, it's not, to me, it's not fizzy or anything like that, but it's just very bright, and you almost can't help smiling when you smell the opening of this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you pick anything else?
Yeah, I definitely get the spices like you. And in fact, when I was trying to describe it a couple of weeks ago to somebody, I was saying, the opening's kind of a bit sharp. And then I didn't really mean sharp, I meant spicy. But for me, I don't, it is brighter in the opening than it is later on. But I find actually that it feels dark to me from the very beginning. So it's I definitely get like a freshly cut grass element, but it's like a really dark grass. And if I imagine there's dark green grass, and that's how I see it. But it's it also sort of smells a little bit wet as well. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
it's going to sound really dumb, but I'm just like, it's like wet dark green grass that's just been freshly cut, and it's either at dusk or really early in the morning before the sun's on it. And it's kind of moody. So I think I did a video recently with Cos, and we were talking about this one, and I think I described it as it reminds me of the book Wuthering Heights, because when I smell it, I always just get this image of those moors with the sort of the dark greenery and sort of a bit of mist hanging over it. So that's, but I do get what you say. I'm definitely getting that sort of citrusy, lemony kind of vibe. But as you say, I mean, it's light. It's sort of a bit brighter, but this is as bright as the fragrance can get, I think. But to me, it's still very dark.
I was just about to say, because you saw me just spray this on, and as you were speaking and I was sniffing, it was already changing. So that green grass really on my skin does not last long at all, which is not a bad thing. I like that this kind of develops, but like now, and I'm guessing, I guess for me, this is the predominant part of the heart notes in this scent. It gets quite floral. And what I can mainly smell is some kind of violet floral note. That's the main one that I can smell on me. Just so everyone knows, the official notes list for this, like in the opening, they do list grass and they also list cardamom and coriander. But when it gets into the heart notes, they have got jasmine, which is not very strong, like, or noticeable to me. They have violet, but they also have something called hemlock fir, and I've got no idea what that is supposed to smell like. But, to be broad and vague about it, it does get quite floral very soon after that opening. It's very nice. And look, if I had to label it, this part here would probably be the most feminine part of the scent, in my opinion, and the way it plays out on my skin. Does it change on your skin as quickly as it does on mine?
It takes, probably for me, I get the florals mostly at around the 10 or 15 minute mark. So I just sprayed it on and I'm not really getting the florals yet. It's still very grassy to me. But I will say that sort of now in these first few minutes is the fragrance is as sweet as it's going to get on my skin right now. And I find that really interesting, because mostly when I have fragrances that have an element of sweetness in it, it gets sweeter as it dries down. But for me, this becomes less sweet as it dries down. So, but I think it might be because those florals are starting to come through, and maybe that's where some of the sweetness is coming from. I take my hat off to you that you can pick out any specific florals, because I can't. I get floral and I get a headiness, and it's like those florals lift the fragrance off your skin a little bit and start to create that beautiful sort of magical cloud around you. But I can't pick a specific floral, but I'm really bad at picking florals anyway, at the best of times. But
I only recognize violet because like I have smelled some made up raw materials, and this is what it reminds me of. Like I don't recognize anything like jasmine, and to me it's not as heady as it apparently is for you. Like I don't get overblown by florals. It's just got like it's almost like a shade. It's like a shade in that heart. And a couple of, like, Viv Smack's saying that she thinks hemlock can smell a bit powdery, like close to mimosa, and so that kind of makes a bit of sense based on what I'm smelling. Actually, do you have your bottle there with you?
I do.
Cherie?
Yes.
Someone just asked if you could hold it up and show what the bottle looks like.
Hang on. Do you know what? Maybe I don't have a
that's
light,
right. No,
but it's really dark.
That's good. I think definitely get a sense of enough of what it looks like.
Definitely green.
Is it green juice in your bottle?
Yeah, it is. It's like a greeny, yellowy juice.
Yeah,
it almost has like a dark tone to it too. Like
I agree. Like that's kind of what mine looks like as well. And it's interesting also that you said it's as sweet as it's going to get, because I think I get, as it dries down, it gets just a little bit sweeter, but it's a really good toned down sort of amber. But what I mainly get when it dries down is this creaminess. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's creamy, and for a long time I couldn't work out what it was that was giving it that creaminess, and
Mm-hmm.
I never bothered to look at the notes list up until last night, actually, and they do say there's sandalwood in here. Now I don't actually smell
Okay.
sandalwood, but you know how sandalwood accords can give off that creaminess. I guess that's what that might be, but at the same time, it doesn't get overly woody. I don't smell any like kind of vetiver or cedar in there. It's just like really nicely blended. I also think that that this has quite a bit of ISOE super in it, because that can give off that effect as well. And the reason I also say that is that even though after several hours, like I'm talking 5-6 hours, I stop kind of smelling it on my skin.
Mm-hmm.
Other people can still smell this on me way after I've stopped smelling it. And I took this on holiday with me recently. It was really good in the warm weather as well. But I sprayed it on, and the next day I picked up the shirt that I was wearing the previous day, and like it was so still strong on the fabric from the spray that I did. So it really, really sticks around. How does it like perform on your skin?
I would say same. I think I lose it after maybe 4 hours. I remember going to a business lunch last year. Was just before COVID sort of hit in full force and we went into lockdown. And I had re-spritzed. So I had been wearing it that day, and it was only lunchtime. And so I re-spritzed it because I was thinking, I can't really smell my fragrance anymore. So I re-spritzed it. And then I was really self-conscious because I didn't spritz a lot of it, but I just suddenly it's like reapplying it kind of just, it combined with what was already there. And suddenly I was going, oh my God, I've actually overdone it. And I had to sit right next to these two people on either side of me. And I felt so bad because we were eating, and I was thinking, oh God, if I just, I've oversprayed. So I will never do that again. It is a very powerful fragrance, but I do sometimes feel like I lose it, but it comes back, I mean,
Yeah.
So if I just waited maybe another half an hour or something, I probably would have had it come back to me, because as my skin changes temperature and stuff like that, it sort of wafts up at me, and I definitely still can smell it at the end of the day. But it's, I do feel like I get periods where I lose it and I can't smell it. And I definitely get that creaminess as well. But for me, in the dry down, it does become quite more woody for me. Sorry, that's really bad English, but it does get quite a bit more woody to me. And occasionally I do get sort of flashes of cedar. So there are moments where I just go, oh, that's cedar, but then it's gone. And then it just, sort of mingles back in with that dark green creaminess. But I definitely get flashes of it, but it's not just like cedar and then like cedar the whole time, but it's definitely a woodiness. But again, it's just so beautifully blended. It's got the florals are still there, but they're taking a bit of a backseat, and they just keep giving it a softness, and
But
then
it doesn't
you get
get
this.
dry, does it? Like I don't think it gets very dry on my skin. So the woods you're talking about, the way they play out on my skin, it's like they're wet or they're fresh woods, and that's probably still like the notes from the opening, but it always just there's always this feeling of softness, and your description of the moors and the mist is a really good one. There's this kind of fogginess about it, like that. I think that's why, like, I found that it worked really well in the heat when I was wearing it. But it does. I mean, this would be all year round suitable to me. Like, do you find that as well? Yeah.
Yes, I wear it all the time, and and that's what I think I've said it several times. I think this, if I had a signature scent, this probably could be it, because I can wear this. I never put this on anytime and go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. It's just a really fantastic fragrance, and it just seems to suit any occasion.
Yeah.
It can be cozy when you want to feel
Yeah.
cozy. But it also has, that a little bit of freshness about it, so you can feel fresh in it in the heat. And yeah, it's just so good. It's a really magical kind of fragrance.
Yeah, well, that's like I'm sometimes I'm surprised at how much how much I like it. Like I don't know why, because it's, if something smells good, I like it. But I was just kind of taken aback by how good it was, because it doesn't actually remind me of something. But I'm curious to ask you: are there other perfumes out there that you've tried that this might be similar to or close to? Nothing.
No. That's I think another reason why I like it so much, because it is quite unique, and I don't think I can pinpoint anything that smells like this that I've smelled, at least. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's quite different to anything that I've smelled, and people will comment on it and say, oh, what is that, because they don't. And I wouldn't say I get lots of compliments or anything, but people are curious about it. And I think I also mentioned in a previous video that my female friends don't tend to love this. My male friends seem to love this more than my female friends, and because because it's so unusual. It's just not. It's not what my female friends, who not necessarily are perfumistas, they don't really get into this whole perfume thing, but it's just not the kind of thing that they gravitate towards. They're more into the very overtly floral or overtly sweet kind of fragrances. This is very different.
No, I definitely love that this doesn't get overly sweet, and it has made me between this and Tolu, it's made me want to try a lot more from Ormonde Jayne, because I mean, people know about them, but I think they're probably a little bit overlooked. When I'm curious to try a lot of the other fragrances. You've got some though? Have you got another Ormonde Jayne, or am I just imagining it? You got the Saint-Peter.
I've got a few now.
Yeah.
I've got a few now. Yeah, I have the Saint-Peter I bought. So last year, I ended up buying a heap. So Saint-Peter I bought in 2019, I think. And then the next bottle I bought was Ormonde Woman. But I have a couple of the Travel Labs as well. So I've got a range of different fragrances from them. And then last year bought the Vanille d'Iris, or d'Iris, or however we say it. And then I also bought the Tiare, which is a very, that's very much more, it's green as well, but it's not sort of a dark green, and it's not sort of, moody like this one is. It's very light, and it reminds me actually a lot of, kind of a little bit like Chanel No. 19, but not exactly. And it's apparently been compared to Cristal by Chanel, but I actually don't know what Cristal smells like. I've never smelled it. So, and then Tolu, I've got Tolu as well. So I've
got a small sample of Osmanthus, and that's actually really nice as well. But that surprised me, because it wasn't actually a lot of Osmanthus that I was smelling. That was just a nice, fresh kind of, memory. I think it was quite green as well in the opening. So do we have anything else we want to say about Ormonde Woman, other than we both love it? I think that, I mean, Ormonde Jayne's not cheap, but like, I know Cherie and I have been able to find it at pretty good prices here. There's been a couple of sales at the places where we can buy it here, but I think they're really, from what I've smelled, I think the value is good for Ormonde Jayne. And I don't find them overly, I wouldn't describe them as overpriced, put it that way.
Yeah, I think the quality is definitely there. I mean, I've read mixed reviews. the thing with Ormonde Jayne fragrances though is that they are very different smelling. So you know how you get natural perfumes and there's a distinct, you can tell a natural perfume because it distinctly smells different to what you would buy commercially. Ormonde Jayne, I mean, they're not naturals necessarily, well, they've got synthetics in them, but they have a very unique smell, and there is kind of a bit of a DNA with the Ormonde Jayne fragrances, and I think people either really like it or they don't like it at all. So I think they can be a little bit polarizing. So I often see when I'm reading up about them, these just very divergent opinions about whether they're good or bad. And a lot of people think that they're not worth the money, but I do. I mean, and look, my hand is greasy from having sprayed that, because the perfume oil concentration in these things is high,
Well, so this is eau de parfum, we should say, eau de parfum concentration. And I can, you probably won't pick it up there, but oh God, can't stand these reverse cameras. I can actually see the oil film on my skin. Just trust me on that. It's definitely there. All right, so that's our review of Ormonde Jayne. So I think maybe we just stick around a little bit to see if anyone has. I'll just scroll to see if anyone has actually asked any questions. Hello to everyone. Thank you. You guys are great.
Yeah, there are comments. Sorry, I couldn't see the comments because I had it on a different tab. So there you go. They're all there now. I can see them. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to ask, and guys, if you let me know what your scent of the day is today. Mine is now Ormonde.
You got a choice now because it's I'm the same.
By the end of the day, I've got 3 or 4 different things on me. Anyway, I was going to ask you, right? Given that it's January, it's the beginning of the year, and it might be a good opportunity. Have you made any resolutions, but just obviously perfume wise when it comes to this year?
Yes, I have. I bought a lot of perfume last year. I think a lot of people did, but this year, I've also had a recent sort of job change. Literally, I just signed the agreement yesterday, so it has resulted in a bit of a pay cut, but that's okay. I can live with that. So I sort of thought, okay, I'm going to have to be a little bit more discerning with my purchases this year, just because of that, but not just because of that. I think I definitely want to sample more. And like the other day, I was sampling Tower. Another anti-tower one. It was the Tuberose, Soto de Tuberose or something.
Yeah.
That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I was going, oh, I love this. I really, really love it. And then I thought, and I started looking up the price to see if I could get a bottle. And I'm going, what am I doing? What am I doing? I don't need to. Just because I decide I love something doesn't mean I have to own it. So yeah, this year. So what I'm doing in order to keep myself in check is, I did get to a point last year where I would just order things, and then I'd forget that I'd ordered them, and then these things would start rolling in, and I'd be going, oh, I didn't realize I'd ordered that, or I'd forgotten that I'd ordered that.
Oh, wow.
And because everything was delayed as well, because the mail was just going haywire because the different states were locked down at different times and things like that. So I got to a point where I just went, you know what? This year I'm going to keep a register, and I sort of started the year going, okay, I'm on a low buy for the year, and then of course January hit, and then a couple of well-known people in the frag community on Facebook, in one of the Facebook groups, started selling off a heap of fragrances, and there was one that I actually really, really love, and I bought a bottle. One of the last bottles remaining on the market, but unfortunately it was located in a perfumery in the UK, so I ended up buying it, but they didn't ship internationally, so I had to get it shipped to a friend's place in the UK, thinking of course that either I will be going over or someone I know will be going over to the UK at some point in the next 12 months, and then of course, so that was in 2019. And then, of course, COVID hit, and so we're not going to the UK at any time soon. And So I thought, okay, this perfume is just sitting there and I really, really want to. I had some samples of it. I bought up a heap of samples because it got discontinued. And anyway, so that popped up in the Facebook group and I just went, I'm getting it. I'm just getting it. And I'm really glad that I did. But yeah, so I'm keeping a register of the things that I bought. So I've already bought a few bottles in January. So I started the year off with a bang, and now I'm sort of said, no, I'm not buying any more bottles for 6 months or whatever because I just don't need them.
No. Well, I mean, I'm putting limits on myself this year, and I'm going to say this here because I want it to be like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting where I'm gonna use you guys as my witness and to keep me accountable. Now I have over 100 bottles, and I desperately. It's not so much that I want to reduce them. I just want to get rid of the bottles that I don't love, right? And so what I decided I'm going to do this year is limit myself to, if I have to buy a bottle of something, it'll be 1 bottle per month, right? So if I buy a bottle for the month, I have to wait till the next month. But before I can buy the new bottle, I have to get rid of 2 from my existing collection. So
1 in, 2 out. Wow.
Yes,
okay.
This is my 1 in, 2 out policy.
Okay. All right. I was doing a 1 in, 1 out policy, but that's ambitious.
But I guess for me, it's, mentally, it's making me go, okay, do I really want this new bottle so much that I'm prepared to get rid of these 2?
True.
Right. And so I bought Oud Palau from Diptyque just recently. That's my first purchase for the year. It's my January purchase, but I did, before that arrived, I did get rid of a couple of bottles. So if I end up buying 1 every month, I'll at least still be reducing my bottle collection, and I'll only have stuff I really want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. And this is a thing because my taste in perfume has changed a lot, even just over the last 12 months. It's not that I dislike the ones that I've bought previously. It's more just that I go through phases of really, really loving something. And then, and then a few months later, I'll be like, okay, I still really like it. And I still love it, but I'm not obsessed with it like I was. And if I go out and rush and buy these bottles, especially if they're new releases and stuff, then a lot of the time I'm really kicking myself later because I'm going, okay, if I just waited 6 months, I could have bought it cheaper, or somebody would have bought a bottle and sold it secondhand and I could have picked it up that way. And I bought a lot of secondhand bottles last year. So that was one thing. I did save a bit of money by buying things secondhand off people. I just refused to go and buy retail. I was laughing before, the Mr. Zanshin talking about how I'm trying to convince that's true.
That's why you need to use the people here to keep you accountable.
That's why, exactly. So thank you. I'm definitely, that's right. And I think I'm sharing I decided yesterday that I said to Matt, I'm going to share the spreadsheet of the new purchase, the register of the new purchases with him, so that if I know that he's going to look at it, I can't hide. So it's anyway, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. But there's a few different strategies I picked. So there's the register, the 1 in, 1 out. So if I really, really want something, I have to get rid of it. And also sort of saying, okay, I'm going to set a budget for the month. And if I buy a bottle, then I can't. Knowing me, the bottle that I buy would definitely use up a big proportion of that budget, so I wouldn't have enough to buy 2 bottles. So there's a few things I'm trying to do, but and this is the thing, I'm just going to get myself to wait. If I can make myself wait a few weeks, once I've decided, because I test things for a few weeks anyway, but then once I decide, oh, I really love this, if I can just put it aside and wait a few weeks, I usually can get over that sort of obsession, because it's when you're wearing it constantly and you go, because you're testing it, and then you go, oh, I really, really, really love this. I just want to wear it all the time. But you're happy to wear other things. It's just that because you're testing something and you're trying to become familiar with it and understand it, that you sort of think, oh, I'm going to wear this all the time now, but you don't really. When you get the bottle, you don't. So,
and I just want to clarify is I'm not limiting the samples I'm getting or trying. So, you know, I'm still ordering, you know, even recently I've ordered some discovery sets, and I've still got a bunch of samples that I haven't even tried yet. So I'm still, that's how I'm trying new stuff. And I find that especially with my latest purchase of the Oud Palau, I found that like a really gratifying purchase, because I was wearing that sample for over a year. And like I knew that I loved it that much. I've got to try it. Like I've made in the past impulse purchases based on, you know, a couple of wearings of a sample, and then I basically didn't give it time. And that's the other thing I'm going to do. It's like there won't be any bottles purchased unless I've worn something for a really good period of time. And, you know, like you can all hold me accountable for this, but I promise. And I think we should do a follow-up live stream in about 6 months.
That would be good. Yeah, I like that idea.
To see how we're going.
Well, I've been pretty honest last year, you know, as it has been pointed out, I did do that declutter and said, I'm not buying anymore. And then 6 months later, I've got 20 more bottles that I'm doing a review of. But yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to do another live and do a recap on that. Petra asked which perfume it was that I was talking about. It was Shangri-La by Hiram Green. That was the bottle that's still sitting in the UK. So, but which I now have a bottle of here, which I'm very happy about.
So Viv Smack, she mentioned here, like in, you know, the possibility that you might fall in love a second or third time with something. Have you ever gotten rid of something and rebought it? Because that's never actually happened to me.
No, but that's the problem, is that before last year, I'd never gotten rid of anything. So last year was the first time I started to declutter things. Yeah. The one that I got rid of that was the hardest one to say goodbye to was actually the Roches Femme. And and I didn't take a decant of it or anything because I can't. And now I'm sort of, I don't know, I don't think I regret it yet, but because I'm actually at the moment, I'm going through a vintage phase and I'm really liking vintage style perfumes. I'm wondering if maybe that was a mistake to get rid of that, but it's so easily accessible. I can just pick up another bottle.
I was only smelling Roches Femme like just earlier on. It's so, I mean, you know how cheap it is to get here, the current version at least, but it's really made me want to smell some vintages of that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe that's something I'll end up doing a bit more of this year, is actually hunting down. I haven't really done that much of that in the past, of actually trying to get vintage, because I've always sort of thought, oh, well, what's the point? Because if I get some, and if I really like it, then I can't get I'm unlikely to be able to get another one. But, you know, I think maybe I might try and get my hands on some more vintage perfumes this year, but only if only if it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg.
No, well, I was going to say that's just another rabbit hole you haven't fallen into right now.
Exactly, but you've never fallen down that rabbit hole either, have you? Because you've always
only because I've deliberately avoided it. Because, you know, like on Instagram, on here, there are always people like Rich Mitch, for instance, like who you should, you know, the vintage version of this is good, the original version, and I believe people when they say that. It's just, if I start doing that, like, you know, I may as well get lost in the Bermuda Triangle, because you'll never see me.
That's right. And you'd spend all the time just hunting down old bottles.
Because
it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, well, because right now, as the amount of bottles I own attests to, like, there are enough current formulations that I love already. So it's not like I don't feel like I'm missing something by not going after vintages. Which is kind of why I try and avoid smelling too many, because otherwise I think I know if I smell some, I'm going to never be able to go back.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the reason why I've always sort of tried to avoid doing that, because I thought if I really fall in love with something and I can't get it again, I'll be really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did buy a backup bottle of something last year, which is something that I don't do, and that was the
What was it?
Unru's Cherie by
Yeah.
Tower, because I contacted people have been telling me that it was discontinued. I didn't believe them because I'd still seen bottles around on the market, and then when I went to look at the end of the year to see if there was another bottle, there was none. And so I contacted Andy Tower and I said, any chance you're going to be restocking these anytime soon? And he said, nope, that they're done. And I went, oh no. So yeah, again, just somebody posted one in a Facebook group somewhere, and I went, okay, I think I'll take that. Thanks.
Well, I don't have backup bottles of anything, but the one I've been thinking about the most recently, because I'm worried that I won't be able to get it again, is MFK's Absolute pour le Soir, because
Yes.
I have like about this much left, and it hasn't been available on their website for quite a while. And I did contact them ages ago, and they said, oh yeah, it's just temporary, it'll eventually be back. But there hasn't been any signs of when it would be coming back or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to, as soon as it becomes available again, if it does, I might have to snap one up.
Definitely. They've got a have you tried, because on their website they've got a pour le soir cologne or something? Have you tried that?
I haven't tried it, but I just know it's not going to be the same.
It doesn't even look the same. So yeah, I was thinking the juice isn't even the same color. But yeah, I feel the same way. I have a little decant of that, and a tiny one, I think like 3 or 5 mils or something. And I do really like it, but I still really like. I still prefer Grand Soir to that, because there's not many scenarios where I feel I could wear that, because it's just so heady and it's just a very unique kind of smell. So I think I can't wear it that much. But so I'm happy with the little decant. But yeah, it's disappointing when things like that get discontinued.
I've kind of always had the view that with, especially with backups, if there's something that I love that does get discontinued, that it's just another excuse. It'll be just another excuse for me to find something else to replace it, if it's a different perfume or whatever. It's because there's just so much choice out there already, Yeah,
that's true.
Sorry about the background noise.
No, that's okay. I was just trying to catch up on the comments because I haven't been reading them.
There's been a bit of a conversation going on there in the chat. Someone about a Serge Lutens. Maybe we should do a live stream talking about Serge Lutens fragrances.
Yeah, that'd be good. Definitely.
Rich Mitch says he has tons of backups. Feel free to sell any I might be interested in, Rich.
So what's on so is it you bought the Oud Palau already, and you've been wanting that for a little while. So is there anything else that you've kind of got your eye on for this year that you think I definitely want to get a bottle of that eventually?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story that only happened yesterday, Cherie. I've been looking out for a bottle of L'artisan Zonka, preferably in the original packaging. And yesterday, one came up on the Facebook group, basically full bottle. I think it was full bottle, brand new, in the original packaging, at a very good price. And for those of you who aren't on Facebook groups, usually the protocol is, like you'll comment, say, I'll take it, sold, whatever. And I did. I was the first one to comment that it had been sold, but then I was told by the seller that someone had messaged them directly saying that that was literally right now, that was the only kind of bottle that was on a wish list, and once I had that bottle, that would be it. But yeah, now I'm going to have to sort of wait a bit longer.
So I haven't smelled that one. What does that smell like?
The best way I can describe it, right, just to be very brief and plain for you, have you smelled Timbuktu?
Mm-hmm.
So there are similarities to Timbuktu, but think of Zonka as colder. There is more iris in it.
Okay.
And it's kind of drier, where Timbuktu has this humidity and warmth about it. Zonka is like the cold season version of Timbuktu. That's how I imagine it on my skin.
Okay, nice. Sounds
yeah,
good.
that's it. Mr. Zanchin wants to know if we're in hardcore lockdown. We are not, because we've managed to get our cases very low in Australia, and there's very, very few community transmissions. So we're allowed to walk around with no masks now.
Well, we're not in Brisbane at the moment. We still have to wear our masks because we were in lockdown last weekend. Yeah, we can go outside without a mask on, but if we go anywhere in a building or anywhere where we can't social distance, we have to wear a mask. So, but yeah, it must be very freeing for you, because you guys were in lockdown for the longest time. Well, in Australia at least. So
3 months down here, like I basically couldn't do anything. But yeah, we've got our now. All I'm waiting for is to be able to travel overseas. That'd be nice.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, it was funny. It was disappointing for last weekend. It was Matt's birthday last weekend, and I had planned to take him hiking down on the Gold Coast hinterland, and it was upsetting for me to, because I'd planned all this thing, and I'd planned this picnic hamper and all sorts of stuff that I was going to lug down there. Yeah, that got cancelled, but we still ate the food. That was fine. But we were meant to go see his family at Christmas, and that had to get cancelled because Sydney was in lockdown. Well, some of the suburbs of Sydney were in lockdown. So it's so weird. It changes so quickly that you can't really plan anything. So I would love to go back to WA and see my parents. And according to the rules right now, I could go back to WA right now and see my parents, but I could be on the plane going to WA, and something could happen, and I could hit WA, and they'd say, "No, you're in 2 weeks quarantine," so
at your own expense.
Yeah, so you just can't. If we're planning holidays and stuff, we're planning them close to home so that we don't have to worry about, that sort of thing. But anyway.
And for Rich and Spy and Mash, we have got that UK strain here as well, which like they've managed to isolate those people, but it's reached us, so all good. All right. Cherie, I think we should get on with our Saturday, and thank you so much for doing this with me, and
I'm so glad
you invite me on your channel.
We'll do one
on your channel, okay?
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm really glad you invited me to do this one.
It was fun, and I couldn't have done Ormonde Woman without you, seriously. We've been planning this for months, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone. It's been wonderful. See you, Pep. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, darling.
Bye.